Scope. Understanding how scope affects access to variables and class properties and methods can be very confusing. In this lesson I'll try and make it clear. To code along, open the file index.html in the folder Start Lesson 10. There's a variable called name defined, a function called myfunc, and a class called app. The name variable is defined at the root of the script, so it has global scope. You can access it anywhere. As you get more experience with your programming, you'll learn that global variables should, where possible, be avoided. But this isn't a lecture about good coding practice, it's about scope. Make sure you're using Live Server to view Lesson 10 Start index.html, and in the console enter name and the value of name should appear. Back in VSCode, add this console log statement and call to myfunc. Notice I'm using backticks, not single or double quotes, inside the log brackets. Using backticks we create a template string, and if we use a $sign and the ubiquitous curly braces, you can include JavaScript code inside the string value. This will print the value of name. Then we call the function myfunc. Before we run this, let's have a quick look at this function. We have a console statement to print the value of name. What do you think name will be inside the function? We'll see in a minute. Then we have an if statement where the condition is true, so it will always process the statements inside the curly braces. We create a variable and a constant. Then we print the values of these to the console. Time to use Live Server to run Start Lesson 10 index.html. Outside of the function and inside the function, name has the value Nick Lever, since the variable name has global scope. Then course and lesson have the values assigned to them. So far so good. Now, outside the if code block, but still inside the myfunc function, copy the course and section console log lines, switching inside to outside. Let's add inside myfunc to the name console line so we can clearly see the console lines called inside this function. Save, let Live Server refresh the browser. We get an uncaught reference error. If you click the link, you'll see it's the console log line outside the if code block, where we attempt to display the value of course. This is because the variable course only exists inside the if code block, not outside the code block. It has local scope to within the curly braces of the if statement. This error will stop any further code running in the script. To allow the code to continue, we can put the problem code inside a try catch block. We use the keyword try, then curly braces wrapping the code, followed by the keyword catch and brackets. Inside the brackets we add an error object, then we add more curly braces, and inside these curly braces we add a console message that will display the message property of the error parameter to the catch block. Save and let Live Server refresh the browser. You can expand the error to see how we got to this line. A try-catch block is a useful technique to find difficult to fix code bugs. Now let's turn our attention to the app class. In the mouseMove method, add this console log statement, and in the app constructor, add an event listener. This neat bit of code means whenever there's a mouse movement, we can call a chosen function. Notice the event name is mouseMove. That is the event we're going to be listening out for. The second parameter is the function to call when this happens. Notice immediately after the class closing curly brace, we've created an instance of the app class. Notice we pass a name as a parameter. Save and refresh the browser. Lots of undefined. Switch to the Sources tab and click on the number of the first line in the mouseMove method. Now when you move the mouse, the processor will stop at this line. You've added a breakpoint. Hover over this and slide down to see that this is not the app at all. It's the HTML document. This is easily fixed. Jump back to VSCode and back where we created the event listener, add .bind this. Now inside the function, instead of this being the document, this will be the app as expected. Save and let live server refresh to confirm. We see the app name scope example as expected. If we add a breakpoint as before, we can clearly see by hovering over the word this in the mouse move method that this is now the app instance. Nice! Notice the show days method. In the constructor for the app, we created an array of days. In the show days method, we use the for each method of an array to attempt to display each day. To emphasize the role of scope, we also show the global value of name and the local value of name using a template string. Enter this code to call this method. My app show days. Then save and let live server refresh your browser. You'll get an uncaught type error, cannot read property name of undefined. That's because the function has its own scope and this inside the function is not the app. There are two ways to fix this. The easiest is to switch to arrow functions. Arrow functions have the scope of where they're defined, so this will be the app. If we save and refresh, we now get all the days in the array displayed as expected. Notice also that global name and local name are as expected. The optional way is to create a variable, sometimes called self, and set self equal to this. Then inside the function we replace this with self. Again, if we save and refresh, now self.name points at the app name, so no errors are generated. Scope is challenging for new programmers, but with practice you'll soon understand where the problems are. Maths allows us to achieve some stunning visual effects, and we've met the JavaScript math object already in the course. In the next lesson we'll look at some super useful methods of this object that you can use in your web apps. Don't skip the lesson because you hate maths. See you in a minute.